This new workbench from Ryobi is genius. It could be a game changer for your shop, whether you need extra workspace or if you're in a small shop or if you have to take your tools in and out to get work done, you should check this thing out. Full disclosure, Ryobi did send me this for review, but no money changed hands and I'm not keeping this for review. I give this away to my 2 Before Nation members. Details in the description on how to become a member. This thing has a ton of features packed into it. They claim it'll hold 400 pounds and we're gonna test that. But first, we gotta unbox this thing and see exactly what we're getting. Coming out of the box, this thing is extremely well packed. There is so much packing in here. Nothing's moving and shaking around. Comes out, looks flawless. I'm very impressed. That's heavy duty right there. Nice, beefy plate for the dolly. I'd say so far it is well packaged. Got big old wheels. Rubber. Some assembly required, obviously. One thing I was a little bit worried about when I started pulling these pieces out was, man, it's gonna take me forever to assemble this. And then I got down to the bottom where the worktop is, and I'm glad to see that some of this is already assembled. So it should just be a couple of pieces to snap together. Oh, that is nice. That's very nice. I like that. I wasn't expecting that. Assembly was fairly straightforward. It's all written, there's no pictures, and if you like pictures, you're up a creek. Except they actually have an assembly video, which is immensely helpful on their website, and you just scan the QR code that's on the box, but I'll link to that video in the description so you don't have to go looking for it. That makes things much easier because it's explained in step detail how to do it. Once I found the video, it went together in a snap. Before I found that video though, the instructions were a little confusing because you don't understand how things fit together until you see it in the video. Once you see that video, you're on track. This also does include the Ryobi link system. This bar can actually be moved around this table in various places. If you don't want it on the end, you can put it on the sides, however you need it to line up for you. But the link attachments just bolt right on. Got it assembled. It took about 25-30 minutes. Look at the clock, tell me. It was not hard, I just needed to find that video. Once everything's together, it feels really nice. Another thing to note is there are non-skid feet on this thing on the bottom. Nice rubber feet, keep that thing from moving around if you're on concrete or garage floor, etc. One thing I really appreciate is they thought ahead and used wing bolts here on where this base plate attaches so you can quickly remove this, take this out, and then you can just put those bolts back in place. That gives you the full tabletop to use without this being in the way, but you do have this available as an option for a dolly, and I like that because I need a dolly around here. Wish I was keeping it. All right, now this is assembled. This thing will do 3 different things. It is a dolly. It's not a dinky dolly either. It is robust. This thing is really nice. And I like the fact that it has these nice big wheels on there. It rolls extremely easy and it's not overly heavy. I mean, it's got some weight, but it's not overly heavy just to be able to set it down. And it will expand up into a regular sized workbench. Let me show you. This is my first time. That is so easy. It's genius the way that lets down. I'm very impressed with how that kind of set up there. I thought I was gonna have to do something kind of odd there. That is, oh, it locks into place. I like this workbench a lot.
I like it a lot.
It's nearly the same height as my workbench that I built here, maybe about a ½ inch or an inch lower, but it's right there at that perfect working height if you're working on woodworking projects, etc. Another thing I like is if I have a job site table saw like this, this will hold that. I can make my cuts while this is up here, or if you have a miter saw or anything like that, benchtop style stuff that you're taking in and out of the garage or your shed to be able to woodwork, planers, jointers, etc. All that'll set on here because it has that 400-pound capacity, so you don't have to really worry about it being overloaded with common woodworking tools. I like that. Now, one thing to note on this workbench is when I talked about when it was collapsed, the dolly part stuck up. Well, when it's extended, it doesn't stick up. However, be careful when you're walking around the edge of that thing because it does extend past the workbench. So if you're walking and you're not paying attention, you could cause yourself to trip. I wish it was different, but I guess because of the way it's designed for weight bearing, etc., and the dolly part, it has to be that way. I would really like to have seen this tabletop extended maybe another foot, and that would take care of that trip hazard there. All right, so on the box it says this will hold 400 pounds, and since I have a home gym and plenty of weight plates, We're gonna find out. Now, if it collapses, that ain't good. I'm gonna add it to Chris. Chris, say hi. Is gonna keep up a tally here. This is 55 pounds. We'll go right in the center. This is another 55 pound. Chris, what tally we at? Here is another 55. Another 55. I'm out of 55, so I'm gonna use 45s. There's another 45. Another 45. If my math is correct, this should be the last 45 to get us to 400 pounds. It's pretty impressive. The top is, from what I can tell, might be a tiny bit of sway in it, but it looks fairly flat to have 400 pounds stacked on top of it. Put my precision straight edge on there, and you can see there's a tiny bit of light. You're talking 1/16 of an inch maybe, but 400 pounds stacked on top of it right in the center. That's pretty cool. I like that. It is worth noting that after I unstacked all of the weights, it went back to being perfectly flat all the way across, so that's a good sign. The way it converts is just a pleasure to use. It literally takes no effort or minimal effort to be able to convert it from dolly up to the workbench. Of course, you can use it as a dolly because it does have dolly features. So if you need to move things around, it's a good way to do that. Now let's talk about the worktop. It's got some features on it that I haven't seen people put on a worktop. They're probably out there, I just haven't seen it. On one side you have SAE measurements for us here in the US mainly. And then on the other side you have metric for the rest of the world. And then on each end you also have one end's metric, one end is SAE. So if you need to just make some quick measurements, just rough measurements, you can just lay your piece up there, mark it, and then you can go and cut that. Or if you have your miter saw sitting up here, you can mark it down there. Miter saw's a little further back. Really, really quick. I like that idea. It goes up to 40 inches on the SAE, and it goes up to 100, looks like millimeters-ish, metric, whatever those are. Looks like maybe centimeters. I'm not a metric guy. It goes up to 40 inches, whatever that converts to. And then on the sides, it goes up to 20 inches, so half the distance. Also on the SAE side, it has degrees from 0 all the way to 15. Well, from 90 to 15. I guess 0 would be flat. But 90 all the way to 15 degrees, so if you needed to mark something quick, get a kind of an idea of an angle. I guess it's kind of nice to have. I don't know there's a purpose for that for my purposes, but you tell me if you have a purpose for that. Then they do have no drill icons down these two paths. I guess that's because the railing is under there. If you drill into those railings, you're gonna mess with the integrity of the workbench. The overall workbench size is 56 3/4 inches long, 27 1/4 inches wide by 33 3/4 inches tall. As far as the thickness goes, it's about 3/4 of an inch thick. While in workbench orientation, in other words, all extended all the way up, the capacity is 400 pounds as we tested, and when it's in the cart or dolly operation, it's 300 pounds. I wanted to know if this SAE scale was accurate because that's going to matter. I've got it perfectly lined up at 1 inch, and we're going to go all the way down to the 35-inch mark and see how accurate this thing is. And as you can see, it is ever so slightly off. So it's not perfectly accurate to this woodpecker's rule, but the amount it is off is 32nd maybe. So it's not terrible, but it's not perfect either. On the worktop, also worth pointing out is these markings that are on the top. You can't feel them, so they're not like applied on there. I'm assuming they were probably painted on, and then the finish, whatever this kind of satin or semi-gloss finish is on top of that to protect it. As far as how long that'll wear, I don't know. I will try to scratch it off and see what happens. Whoever gets this, I'm sorry. I mean, it'll scratch, but under normal wear, if you take a razor to it, it'll scratch, but as far as normal wear and stuff moving around, I think it's gonna be fine. What I really like about this is it's space saving. So I know a lot of people are working in confined spaces, or they have to take their tools out and in to be able to work. This is a perfect solution for that. Because when it's in dolly mode or cart mode, whatever they're calling it, it literally takes up minimal space, and it'll just kind of set up by itself up against the wall. take up minimal space. You're not, I mean, it's just a good solution, and you can literally stack a couple of tools on there. So if you got your table saw, you can roll that thing out to the driveway without having to lug it out there. It's just a good all-around solution. I like the fact that they thought about the levelness of it when it's collapsed. So if you did want to use it somewhere else, like for whatever reason, collapse down like that, the tires and the handle make this still flat level. I also like that it has the dolly. You could remove that if you don't want that, if you don't need that, but then it wouldn't set up by itself on the dolly mode. I like that they put the scales and all this on there, and I like this worktop. This is very similar to the wood that's used on this Husky workbench behind me. The one behind me is a little thicker, but the same, basically it looks like the same type surface. I like these for work surfaces like that. They're easy to clean, they're easy to maintain, and they wear very well, and they're hard enough for general purpose work. I also like that they put their Ryobi link system. I don't have any of that stuff. It does come with one box. I do like that you could put some small parts, screws, bits, things like that right there on the end. Just be cautious if you tilted this up. Uh-oh, you're gonna spill some stuff, so make sure you take that off before you go into dolly mode. I also like that it's a 400-pound weight capacity in normal operation with wood, a few benchtop style tools on top of this. You use it in normal operation. You're not going to overload that at 400 pounds. I just loaded it up just to see if it would hold it, and it did. Didn't budge. It was swaying about, what, a 1/16 of an inch, but as soon as I took the weight off, it sprung back flat. It's good. This tubular design is very, very strong. I also like that it collapses very easily in and up, and you can literally just, in a matter of seconds, have this up as a workbench or back as a dolly. I also like the fact that I can clamp on all four sides of this, so long as I don't have this Ryobi link system bolted on there. If you have this on there, of course, it kind of takes one end out of play, or one side, or however where you have that. But otherwise, you can clamp things. Like my mini router table, I can clamp that right onto place and get to going. I can clamp down boards that I'm working on. You can clamp your table saw there. Whatever you needed to make stable on top of here, it's available. They left space all the way around it for that. That's a good job. Another thing I like is the overall construction build quality of this from Ryobi is that it's mostly all metal and wood. The only plastic I found is the Ryobi link system and the actual basically hub of the wheels, but even the wheels, the way they're formed, or I don't know what you call it, the way they're made is like, you can tell it's very, very strong. You're not gonna have any trouble with those. This is a well-made tool, and it's one of the things that kind of shocked me coming out of the package. I was like, man, this thing's nice. It was so well made. Been impressed with it. Now what I don't like, I don't like that when it is fully extended into workbench mode that this foot here sticks out and could cause you to trip if you're not paying attention. And I have tripped over plenty of stuff in the shop before. It's just one of those things that I wish they would have just extended this another 12 inches to make it where it's not a trip hazard. I also didn't care for the instruction manual. I think that it could have been better written, at least give us some images or diagrams to show what's going on. Once I watched the video, it was perfectly fine. I love this worktop. I think it's really nice. I would like to see one that's a little bit thicker here. This is 3/4. If it was 1 inch or even 1.25 inches, I think that would be also helpful when you load it down. I know people aren't loading 400 pounds on there, but I just would like a more robust one. But I also realize that a thicker top would significantly increase the weight of the bench itself. Being a little greedy here, but I like that they gave us one of these boxes. I wish that they would have included another Ryobi link something or another that would go with this workbench. I think that would have been nice to have, but I am glad that they did give us one box. One thing I like about having a mobile workbench in the shop or something like this is I've built things in the past to serve this purpose. I also have the Works Pegasus foldable work things. I like to be able to have an extra space to put stuff, especially when I'm doing finishing, or if I'm working on something on the main workbench, I need somewhere to set other stuff that I'm also working on, so I can bring this out, set this up, put stuff on it, and then keep working on my other stuff. I just like having that option, and something like this that doesn't take up a lot of space is a good option, I think. I don't know, I'm not mad at it. I think it's a good option for people who, again, are in a small space. I think that if you're considering this, for this price range, you look at some other competitors in this space that have mobile workbenches, and they're typically about this price or even more expensive. This one right now, it's retailing for $199, which honestly is not a bad price for what you're getting. I don't think so at all. But you know how Ryobi and Home Depot is, they have regular sales, so if you be patient, you may pick this up even a little cheaper, but even at $199, I don't think you're gonna be disappointed in this at all, especially if you're in a small shop, or if you need an extra workspace here and there. Good option. I also don't like that I'm not keeping this. If you don't know, I don't keep any of these tools that Ryobi sends me. If I use them in a video and show them on video, then I give them away to our 2 Before Nation members who support us directly. If you'd like to know more about the 2 Before Nation, link in the description. I literally can't get over how easy it is to convert. Just been sitting there doing this. If you like this video, you gotta check out the Hater's Guide to Ryobi Tools right there. Click in that box, get you the big old virtual fist bump. Thank you for watching.